Yakeen, Gazi. I'm a part of Reliance Brands.
I have been, in my career extensively associated with Indian retail and Indian brands, in various positions, right? And I've worked with Reliance from a delivery perspective in my past, Reliance Trends, Ajio, and so on. I used to head the delivery of, some of the retail solutions for Reliance. I have, been extensively associated with the Tata Group. Having sold to the likes of Chroma, the warehouse solutions to Chroma, have been extensively associated with some other brands over here. I will not go into a lot of detail, but I've implemented similar kind of solutions, assortment space and so on. Personally, I've designed and implemented for more supermarkets many years back, the pre-Amazon days. So Shoppers Stop again was one of the earliest associations in India. They're a big investor and sort of a pioneer in investing in technologies, right? And their longevity shows, that aspirational. They were very aspirational back then, and of course now they are someone everyone copies, right? So, so just a small subset of the brands that, as personally I've been associated with, and various hats, including, implementation, delivery, sales, and so on. Now let me come to introducing Symphony and maybe kickstarting, this whole discussion. So very quick introduction about SymphonyAI. So we are an AI platform provider. We do retail solutions. So we come from a rich history of retail solutions. We've been around for the last 30, 35 years in the retail industry. And we have lots of data and a rich experience, which we then use in our investment in AI to, for the learning models and so on. I spoke about vertical, AI in the morning today. I don't know how many of you had the opportunity to, listen to my presentation on AI. I think there's a lot of fear and, apprehension about investments in AI, right? You may have seen the Forbes analysis recently, and there's a Tech Radar report and so on. So anywhere between 88% to 95% of AI pilots fail, right? But we've been, doing AI, implementing AI since, 2018, even before AI became such a buzzword, and now everyone wants to invest in AI. So we've had successful projects, and I spoke a little bit in detail about the kind of use cases that we've already solved with the use of AI. The largest retailers in the world are already implementing this. They are seeing sales uplift, they are seeing margin uplift, and they're seeing all kinds of business benefits after implementing SymphonyAI. So, to give you a quick overview, we do retail and CPG. All 25 of the top global CPG companies use us. So, like General Mills, PepsiCo, you name it, right? They all use. Our retail softwares are powering 300,000 stores in the world, right? That's 430 billion in terms of sales processing transactions. A 20 in the data. All that happens automatically, right? So I would not say it's plug to play, because of course we have to configure it a little bit, but it is a much quicker time to value than some of your traditional legacy systems that you may have invested in. So we are a strategic partner with Microsoft. We've been named Partner of the Year for the year 2024 by Microsoft. A lot of our products are built natively on Azure, but we are cloud agnostic. So we do have implementations on AWS, GCP, and so on. So, and Cindy, which is our flagship sort of platform, or the crown jewel, if you will, right? So what this does is, this is an AI insights platform. To put it very simply, it is a chat GPT for your business, right? You are able to ask in a natural language questions, and it sort of reduces not just hours, but days and weeks of, analysis. So it not only gives you the insights, but it also tells you what are the actions that you should take, right? So it's very impressive. I don't want to talk more and more and give you a pitch, but we are at 9B booth. So, happy to give you a much more detailed introduction. But coming to the topic which, Mr. Hitesh will talk about in a lot more detail. But for a company like us, what is very interesting is, you're all technology leaders and you're all business leaders. So when you invest in technology, be it AI or be it something else, typically, what is the kind of ROI challenges that you face, right? It'll be really good if we can share anecdotal experiences, and of course, we will share some experiences on, our legacy of having successful implementations and being able to partner with a lot of our customers, for huge successes. So, but it'll be very interesting to hear about both your successful investments and failed investments so that, we can share and learn with each other. So with that context, I'll hand it over to Mr. Hitesh.
Yeah, thank you. Please. Thank you, Anuradha. I think that was a very good introduction about SymphonyAI, and it gave us a gist about what it is. We have got two of our colleagues out here who have joined us. I would request you to introduce yourself, and then we can take this ahead. Yeah, please.
Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Balaji here. I am from Ample. Ample is a 3 decades old retailer. We run stores of Apple, Bose, Under Armour, Asics, and now Lego. So we run over more than 100 retail outlets in the country, and also we manage D2C sites for Apple, Bose, and Lego now. So that's a quick introduction about ourselves.
Thanks, Balaji.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Sarfraz Miller. I represent Apparel Group. It's a luxury segment brand, multiple brands in the portfolio, and I head the IT department for the organization. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarfaraz. So we'll start with Yakeen only, and I want a brief, a brief introduction, or not an introduction, but your thought process on what do you feel about AI? Since morning and last 4 months, all the sessions, all the discussions that we had done, everybody, all our IT, CIOs, CTOs, supply chain heads, everybody was talking about AI. And I wanted to get into depth, but unfortunately, I don't understand much. I could not comprehend what they were telling in terms of, what, how, where. Having said that, it's just a brief idea where you see, it can be a couple of sentences which says about what you feel where AI is, particularly in the Indian context. We have seen lots of case studies so that, we also come to know, okay, this is what the thought process is, or this is where the current stage is, and this is where it can go in the near future. Over to you, Yakeen. Thoughts on AI?
So actually, let's just describe the retail value chain, right? So we start with the customer journeys coming in offline and online area where you have a lot of personalization, customization, etc., etc. Next to it, we have a supply chain completely, which says it's delivery to the stores or delivery to the end customer and stuff like that. And then the complete value, the supply chain works out over there. And between these two, primarily, beyond that, we only have support functions and stuff like that. Now, prior to the customer piece, we also have buying, merchandising, planning piece, which is a part of retail, right? So in these 3 pieces, generally, we run the entire thing. And when we talk about customers, then there is loyalty and then some of the added functionalities that you have in the customer side of things. Now, a lot of AI, basically, a lot of buzz around it saying that we can do wonderful things, but we are not able to yet see any constructive output which can give us a convincing, go ahead from the business teams on saying, okay, yes, we are seeing some results which can make it work. And I'll tell you where it's working also. So we at Reliance have started using AI where it's possible. So for example, we have a lot of manufacturing on products, right? So we have private labels. I just use general terms that way. So private labels, we have manufacturing happening, and there's a lot of design aspect every season by season. Now, Reliance brand operates on 60 odd brands operationally in India. A few of them are also doing manufacturing, where the design teams and the buying merchandising teams are sitting in our offices for those brands, and we go in the production cycle per se. So designing products in terms of look, feel, design has started, and there is a quick win on those in terms of time save, direct time save for the designers who are sitting and doing the work. Okay, so if there was a physical person doing a designing of, let's just take kids wear, okay, and we were just making t-shirts and dresses and stuff like that. Colors, designs, concept, which someone who used to sit and do maybe X amount of designs per day, and that also taking inspirations from other designs on the web. AI is helping them create far larger design options immediately at a press of the button, and then you just do shortlisting out of it, and then you can move it to the next process, right? So that part is definitely working for this team. So that enhancement has started. Now, beyond that, when we look at it, then we have to look at each and every other aspect which can be used. Now, generally IT people are left-brained most of the time, right? So we need to align with zeros and one results coming in. So if I have to work with my supply chain team, and the supply chain team says, boss, I need to see what result I'm going to get. And apparently, when we look at the support function into the value chain of retail, everyone is going to be saying the ideal ROI is saving in cost or time. It's either time save or cost save. Now, if we can prove evidently that there is a cost saving, time save happening out over here, it's a product that just goes through and saying, yes, we go ahead and implement it. And that's the basic that we have been doing for all technology so far, right? As I gave you the example of the design team, there is an immediate time save and much more options coming in. So it's been passed on, it's been tick mark, we are using it, no problems about it, okay? But when we are trying to do the same thing with the supply chain team or the finance team or the planning team, still not able to kind of shortlist a solution which can give us the right result in that context that we can evidently say that, that's where we are. So for a project for me for this year and for most of the CIOs, we'll have this constant requirement saying, how can we adopt AI in this particular retail value chain and then take it further from there. So that's how I see it right now. But
Sure.
that's
Thanks.
that's what
Thanks.
I'm saying.
Shailesh, your views on this, please.
So, thank you, Yakeen. I know it helps to start. It's always who starts first, right? So, AI has been in existence for many years, right? It's just that I think 2 or 3 years ago, when the Gen AI burst on the screen, everybody started talking about AI. And if you're a manager at a senior level, if you don't talk about AI, you are not a manager. And that's I guess, the fear most of us carry. I would say, many years ago, fuzzy logic became the first AI kind of a version. And now, after that, for many years, we did RPAs, robotic process automations. Then came Gen AI. Now, I think agentic AI is something which is in vogue, as I call it. And I completely agree with Yaki that, most of the time, people get glamour out of AI, saying that, I am implementing AI because it's glamorous. And someone comes from outside and tells you, you can do this better than what you've been doing. Ultimately, managers like us, I'm not a tech guy, by the way. I run supply chain. So people like us will always try and save time and save cost. So anyone comes and tells me, Shailesh, you will be able to do this faster, I would definitely like to look at it from the lens of cycle time and cost. Having said that, most of us have tried maybe more than 2 or 3 interventions in using AI. And I'll give you one example which we started using AI. I guess video analytics is something which is very big now. We started doing it in 2017-18. It was very nascent then. We used to count people using counters. And in retail, one of the biggest KPI is conversion. So people used to fudge data using counter. So we wanted to get out of that fudging data. And therefore we said, why can't we use video analytics? So we moved the counting to video. And that was our first, I would say, intervention with AI. The next, I guess most of us tried is looking at how to run replenishments. Because as the industry is growing, most of us moved from say 1 store to 5 to 50 to 100. And when you're running 5 stores, one can do replenishment in Excel. But one has to do it for 200 stores or 300 stores. Excel is tough. And therefore, how can we do automation? So, and from automation then came predictive. So yeah, I guess people have been trying a lot of initiative at most of the organizations. I'm yet to see a very concrete, I would say, benefit coming to table. There are areas like in product, I completely agree, where you can reduce cycle time. The downfall, Yaki, if you agree with me, is if all of us end up using AI for product creation, all of us will have same products in our stores, and that I guess is the risk we most of us carry, right? So ultimately, it helps reducing the cycle time. But yeah, I guess we have a lot of grounds to cover.
Yeah, Yakeen.
No, this is getting
Interesting.
yeah, interesting, and for a different discussion after the
Sure, got
after
it.
the session.
Abhi to sham, just the evening has just begun, after this. So, I like this. But we have just taken 2 views right now, Nick and Anu, and both of them are talking about cost save or time save. And both of them have told that constructive output is not seen, what Yakeen said, and yet to see any concrete benefit is what Shailesh said. Now we can take any one of you guys can, continue from this discussion and give your views, please. Yeah, we have the mic. Balaji.
Yeah, sure. So I'm also not from the tech side, but from business side. So I head the e-commerce business. So while we, from business side, I always believe, even business has equal stake with the IT team as well. Ultimately, it's a cross dependency, at least on the e-commerce front. So for us, GenAI has been a little helpful, especially when we had to turn around with a lot of content, etc. While it's not been accurate, it's not been very appealing, but still it has helped us, save time, just to add, that's one benefit that we have seen from GenAI. But there are solutions which we have tried and used, especially when it comes to, on advertising side, on digital marketing side, on say customizing a little bit of chat and experience on the website to the customer, the browsing experience, and even we have tried to use tools which will probably optimize the site for SEO. On all these sites we have tried to use. We have seen benefits, but it's very difficult to attribute the benefit to the AI itself, because in parallel a lot of other implementations also happen in parallel. So that's been one challenge in terms of measuring the impact. What has been the impact of the specific AI tool? That said and done, I think one critical thing is I think there is a lot of FOMO when it comes to AI. Like he rightly said, are you the smart? You'll be assumed to be the smartest person in the room in case you are able to use a few jargons from AI and say, this is what we are doing, this is what we are, we should do. Whether it delivers results or it gives you results in the right direction in which you want to head. Is that your vision? Is that what you want to achieve? I feel these things are a little important in terms of, how do we assume or how do we presume, what direction we are headed, and for what purpose are we using AI? Will it deliver the result that we are looking for? I think if the end is kept in mind, I think using the right tool has more importance, and it'll probably help us connect different pieces together and ultimately make a system which can work towards it.
Connect different pieces together. Good. anybody else? We can have Alok. No, Arun, yeah. Arun from StarQuik.
Yeah, so talking about StarQuik, because we deal with the e-commerce online delivery side, I think not directly but indirectly, at least with the vendor partners whom we work with, who does the routing, solutioning for us. I think there's a lot of things I see happening because we've been associated with them for a couple of years now. The routing, how it used to happen, the data it used to take, which used to be typically the past history of the traffic, etc., and how they used to actually create the route. Now I think there's a lot of optimization happening with AI because they have a lot of real-time data and they're able to plug in. And one such nuance, if I can tell you, in terms of the delivery experience at the doorstep for a customer, right? Typically, the service time, the time the delivery boy is supposed to spend at the doorstep, right? Now, you may always, configure, because these are the constraints you build in the system. You may say 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but I think if you really go deep with AI or the data available, you can always map it to, for a certain customer what it is, and accordingly your ETA calculation can change. And in the world of minutes delivery now, it can always help you to optimize your ETAs, what you show to the customer, right? The better, the accurate that is, the better the experiences, I would say. And one more thing for me is that I think since I also look at the customer care and the experience side, a lot of our agents, the way they speak to our customers, and we also use some third-party application again there. The kind of information the customer care agents have access to, right? And how can we eventually, reduce the time spent, the average handling time, let's say for a customer with the agent, for any grievance or any kind of a resolution. I think ultimately if you're able to improve that, because that's again a cost to you, right? I mean, the moment you reduce the time, it indirectly translates to the number of people and you will obviously see some benefit. I think these are two areas, if I were to talk about e-commerce, and these are two touch points, I think, which is very common to any e-commerce player, right? That's where I see some things coming in. But again, like I said, now some of it might be running parallelly along with other initiatives, like how he said. But I do see that, there's an improvement of, with AI, some of these at least applications which say that, they are building with AI, right? And that's my take on that.
Thanks, Arun, on that. Sarfraz or anybody else, Alok. In fact, even Akshay can speak. Yeah, Sarfraz,
Yeah.
please.
So, few years back, in RI events itself, we started discussing omni-channel. Yeah, it went on for a couple of years. Yeah, the outcome was very staggered, broken into multiple segments, multiple systems, and we were trying to patch it. We're, with respect to your POS system, with respect to your backend system, trying to get some middleware in between to fix up and just give the end result. I feel right now also we are trying to do the same. We are trying to patch up certain stuff because someone has a solution, I don't know how to use it. And if I want to use it, I have to patch it in some or the other way so that I am getting the desired outcome. But then is that desired outcome, like Yakeen was also calling out, how do I measure that desired outcome? So from a partial desired outcome to a full-fledged one, there has to be, it is going to evolve. It is going to take its time, evolve, and then, we should have some better outcomes altogether. But I don't say I'm not having a better outcome with AI. AI is giving outcomes. It's just that it's, for me, it's a little staggered. Not a holistic view that I see.
Yes, I wanted to just add, so when he's saying that, we have been having discussion of omni-channel, right? And at least the difference between omni-channel and AI, okay? In Omni, we were in control of our deliveries, irrespective of how we want to stitch things together, how many applications we want to tie together, how we want to interface things out, in and out. We were in control. We could deliver as promised. So CIOs, CTOs, whoever in tech team could do that. Here we are not sure what the output is going to be. So that belief factor is what is troubling us right now. So when the solution comes in, and if the solution comes out saying, let's just take an example where AI does a fantastic job, right? So if I want to set up a business, all right, and I want to do market studies, and then I want to do my customer segmentations, and as long as I know the right questions around how you go about setting up a business, I've got ChatGPT itself in its different versions and flavors of doing hard researches or any of them. I will get a good roadmap. Okay, eventually, how it works or it doesn't work is still with me. It's going to be physically how do we implement it, physically how do we make it run. So there is no fixed output which you can just take and say, yes, this is the right answer. All right, it's suggestions. It's a consultant on the other side. Typically, the AI right now is just a consultant on the other side, if I define it appropriately, right? And then you still have to verify everything around it, saying, okay, that consultant has given me some inputs. Now I have to figure out what to do, right? So there is no fixed answer in that context. So that's why the only difference between omni-channel discussions and this is we don't have someone to believe on, okay? That's where it is. So even in places where we say that we have agentic AI who is doing call center support operations and stuff like that, perfectly fine, no worries about it. But I do not know when that will falter. When we code our systems, we know there is no falter. We do error proofing of things in there. Okay, that this is where the system will say, please call this number and speak to an agent to take your issues forward. But with AI, I am not so confident about the fact that how will that reaction come from a system because it's also self-learning, right? So it all then boils down for all the CIOs and CTOs and everyone in the IT or any other department for that matter. Even with supply chain is a very large department and very key department for retail, right? Because it's only IT and supply chain which run the show, to be honest, right? In retail, there is nothing beyond these two. So one of us fails and it all fails, right?
Marketeers, kuch to. No, but point taken, and you guys know better because one thing is, what is there, but what you see, but actually the system or the whole organization runs on these two pillars that Yakeen did mention. Having said that, I would now ask Akshay to give his views.
So we run a very small chain of stores, size about 400, 500 square feet, compared to the larger players over here. So as the gentleman said, when you're at 5 stores, you can do it in Excel. But today, under 20 stores, you're neither here nor there. Now what happens is, we've also met a lot of people, and the cool word today is, sir, isme AI hai. There's AI in this. And you're like, wow. Even if you go and buy a TV today, this has AI. But what is the AI measure that will actually give you benefit? Number one. Number two is benefit with a cost for a small player like us. How do we justify whether I can, skip some manpower, get better ROI using this technology or AI, and how true it would be for me and would not let my business falter. So it's always a big question mark for smaller players like us. And today, over the country, a lot of smaller players, unorganized players are there, which still work on a manual method. So some solution, maybe cost effective or intelligent, effective, will definitely open up the space even more for a company like you and for small retailers like us.
If I may add, Akshay, and thank you for saying this, I've been here since morning, and I think 15, 20 people have, people try and approach you, sir, where are you from, if we can take this feedback, to the people who have booths here, instead of telling me that, I am from this and this company and this is what I have, the question could be the other way around, is what is the problem you are trying to solve? Because you may be having fantastic solution, but that's not my problem, and I guess it's the approach at times. Because, if you come and tell me I have AI, as you rightly said, I've already got bored with listening AI since morning. Every panelist almost talked about AI, and all of us understand AI. It's not that people don't understand. But what is the real business problem are we trying to solve? Because all of us are at different maturity curve in our businesses. Some of us have been for 5 years, some of us have been 25 years. The problem of a 5-year company is not same as a 25-year-old company. So it's very important for the solution providers to first ask the question, what is the challenge? And I guess if you come solutioning for the challenge, I guess maybe the adoption will be much better. That's maybe a point of view. Yeah.
Any other views? Okay, yeah, we have.
Yeah. So
Hello.
I have three things. One is my organization ready for AI in terms of not only my data being AI ready, but is my team ready to explore things, probably fail fast and learn. That is something that probably we probably don't do before we start a project on AI. That's one part of it. The other big one is different from a standard coding or etc. that Yakeen talked about, is the opacity in terms of what the output is going to be. Yeah. So these two things really make things difficult to make sure am I on the right track or not. So for somebody who's wanting to do AI, if these two things are probably taken care of, it would probably be easier to do that. And the third and the most probably that gets talked about is, am I going to make a slide out of this project and present it to my boss or my board that will make me look good? So that's another aspect that people think of when they probably get into an AI project.
With this, we have got a fair idea, Nick, about what people have been talking, and all these challenges and viewpoints. I have written around 10-15 of them, but more or less we all are on the same page from the challenge perspective. I have written your name also, Nick. Would you like to come in and give your remarks here before we move ahead?
This. And thank you for your comments. I think the point with regards to data and to the team is very relevant, but it's a fundamental that a lot of people still forget, and then you're wondering why the outcome or the pilots just run and you don't make any value or you don't speed up the process. Also, what I would say, I think it was also mentioned somewhere here, I mean, AI per se is nothing new. I mean, it's collecting exactly that. It's collecting data and making sense out of data through machine learning, through deep large language models. I mean, all the applications that we see today. So I think, yeah, the input that we got here today is great. I think where I want to go into also to, don't speak for 10 minutes now in a row, but what I really liked is, first of all, again, the point that was made here with regards to know exactly what the challenge is. I mean, that's what we are trying to solve. So this is our first, especially I think from a pre-sale side, also where we are trying to need to understand the customer, because if we are in the dark about what you're really trying to achieve, then yes, we might propose something, but it's not really going to the heart of the challenge, to the core of the challenge that you actually have. And for that, I wanted to provide 2 concrete examples where we have done it, because I started at some point, I needed to borrow the pen and I needed to make some notes. And what I really liked, what you mentioned, and maybe we can help to provide some of our experience and transparency to you, is to crystallize a little bit better where, in our experience, we have taken measures and we have compared what it means to have a solution with and without AI. And let me give you a practical example here. One of the areas we are using, for example, AI, and Anu had this in her presentation this morning as well, is assortment optimization. So in assortment optimization, we have a functionality called transferable demand, where we are able, through machine learning, to identify what happens if I delist an item or what happens when I list an item. So where does the demand go to, or which customers might leave the category. And in fact, we have with customers, global customers that we use, we have run the exact example of running this optimization with transferable demand features, so with seeing where substitution, where compulsory shopping behavior goes to, and without. So we can actually measure between test and control stores, because some of the stores did implement and some of the stores did not implement. We can see the impact that this feature, this machine learning component, this metric has brought when customer used the solution with that component to make assortment decisions and without. Yeah, and this then, at the end of the day, crystallizes the value. And I mean, we're talking about really impact of value that can be measured with sales growth, that can be measured with value, with marginal growth, where we can distinct, okay, with the AI component it is X, and with the without the AI component it is Y. And I mean, the results that we had, I can tell you, I mean, we were talking about 5 to 10% value points in terms of growth, where we had a difference here in using those AI components. And I think this is something where it is measurable and where customers then also said, yes, we believe in it and we want to have this feature, we want to have this improvement, this upgrade in the solution in order to make use of the AI that you have developed in the solution. Yeah. So that is one concrete example that I can give you with a huge UK retailer that we are working with and that we are collaborating with, and that is also willing to share those, let's say, real results with the industry. Okay.
Thanks. I would request Anu. Okay, Yakeen, then Anu.
So, you know, what you just, you're working with some retailers, some scenarios where you're creating a control environment and the system is learning as to assortment planning, okay, at the stores. Something worked, something did not work. It, in my mind, and I could be wrong, okay, because I'm just being the devil's advocate to your solution for the time being, right? A product which is consistent over a period of time, right? We call them as a flow product, or we want it called as a core product, depending on what terminology is being used, right? So a white t-shirt or a shirt like this is like a core product. It sells for years and years and years, right? This works with your control environment, okay? But when I do a fashion trend product, then there is no relevance to it anymore after one season, at best after 2 seasons. All that learning, there's nothing that the AI can give me because I've changed the parameters of the game, right? Because there is no history, okay? That's one case examples. And then we have a famous example in our ecosystem where they had done some analysis and they found out that orange t-shirts were selling like hotcake, okay? And when someone sat down and said, what happened? He said, they were the only, those colors were the only available at the store. What do I do? Okay. Now, I do not know how AI is going to do this or what is going to be sensing out of it. Okay. Now, I also worked for quite many years in Hypercity, which was a hypermarket format. Okay. A very basic system of replenishment. Okay. And we had a beautiful system. I would.
The format, how big it was for their understanding?
The format, I would say, is about, a minimum stores was 80,000 square feet. So it was just like a Carrefour. If I have to give you a relation to the formats that we were working with, it's just like Carrefour and those formats, right? Now, we had a fantastic replenishment system solution. No doubt about it. If someone says, if I were to implement it, I will re-implement it, okay? But there's an inherent problem with that system because all these replenishment systems are programmed to reduce inventory. We all agree that it's about reducing inventory. It's not about increasing sales. Okay? And we have factual inputs coming in saying that at one point in time, one of the store managers, he was intelligent enough to question the system. So he found out that he was selling something very minuscule in a particular area where it should have been selling like hotcakes. Okay, so he just manually ordered 1,000 units of it, and after that the system again pumped his sales up. But till that time it was just going one way, because the intelligence that the system had was, he's selling only 2 pieces. Why should I send him 4, right? And the fact that at some point in time it had gone down because he had ran out of stock because the source had no stocks of it, so it never got corrected. No system then catch it up. So it just went downhill from that point onwards until someone came up and says, boss, this cannot be the case because culturally where I'm having this store, I should be selling this like hotcakes and it's just not happening now. This is another example of a system intelligence. Nothing wrong with the system, but as an example. So until as we start seeing outputs coming in from the system and we can verify it. Difficult. And when we had implemented this replenishment system, which was a fantastic one, the parameters to review the entire operations changed. Because then we were not reviewing the traditional way of viewing the stocks. Then we were reviewing the logic of the system and what were the exceptions coming out of the system. Okay, so our fallback was saying that if the system throws us this 1, 2, 3, 4 exceptions, this is how I tweak my physical activities. When I change my physical activities, the system will readapt to the new normal. So the system of earlier looking at what we have, what we don't have, we had those parameters to do the tick marks too, and then we were operating it. Now somewhere if we have to look at any AI system, then again our comforts will come in where we'll say that, you know, give me the new rules, give me the new exceptions to watch. And if I tweak these exceptions, how will the system readapt to get me my desired output, which is only sales? There is nothing beyond sales as far as the retail is concerned, right? So I thought I'll just share it because when it comes to someone doing the thinking, we need to know what that thing is thinking.
So I'll not attempt to answer all your questions. And you know, Nick is a subject matter expert. At some point of time, we can have like a breakout session and a discussion about this. But you know, I want to talk a little bit about your second point. You know, where you spoke about you know, this manager who had a very efficient inventory or a lean inventory, but then eventually he bought some extra stock and you know he sold it. So this, you know, is a kind of problem that it's an efficiency versus sales problem, right? So if you see in manufacturing, for example, there is always a trade-off between factory efficiency and, you know, your sales. So your most efficient factory, sorry, I'm not able to see his face, which I would prefer to see when, thank you. What I was saying was efficiencies at a factory, like the leanest factory in terms of, you know, like Kanban, factories that use all of those, right? They may not always be sending, you know, all of their stocks on time to customers because that is a sales function. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those classic tussles between sales KPIs and factory, like back-end production KPIs. And it's the same with retail. And, you know, sort of translating it to AI, see, AI will equip you to make these type of decisions. So if you tell them that, hey, in this case, I want to prioritize efficiency, right? My objective function is to have the leanest inventory in this particular case. Whatever, because it's a high value item, it's like a short lead time, whatever, right? Or you tell AI that, hey, my objective function is to increase, like revenue uplift is my objective function. So, you know, AI will not suddenly take over and sort of, you know, run your business, right? Like we'll have to work with it and give it the right inputs for us to gain maximum. And there are a lot of efficiencies, there are cost benefits and so on in using this, but somewhere nothing can replace, you know, our understanding of our business and certain things, right? Because, yeah, that's essentially the point that I wanted to make. And we have done this, so again, to some of the earlier points that were made on, and I'll tell you my own experience, right? A lot of Indian retailers, and I'm talking to, you know, in the last about 4 weeks, I met about 4 or 5 of the largest Indian retailers. And and everybody has an AI pilot story, right? Not that it's always failed, but whatever, we've had these kind of challenges and so on and so forth. So the only thing, you know, I would say is, you know, maybe the strategy needs to be a bit different in terms of not trying to build it yourself. Eventually you can build it maybe, but then it's best to invest in companies that have a legacy of, see, like we've implemented these kind of solutions over the last 35 years, not AI solutions, but retail solutions to like hundreds and thousands of retailers globally. So we have a rich understanding and data to train our models to then, and this is to your point of, we will then have the same assortment, for example, right? Like among Trent and Reliance, if it's the same thing. So that will happen if we do it with a limited data set. But if my models are trained on global data, if my models are trained on, if they're able to, say maybe pick up from like, what's the Pantone shade of the year, what are the trends, and so on and so forth, right? But AI can also come up with a solution only based on data that exists in the world. Do you know what I mean? So these are the small nuances. And my advice to retailers, whoever I met, was that invest in, an experienced solution provider rather than trying to build this yourself. Then you can also get rid of some of the biases and so on, because that's being taken care of by a company that is investing in these things. So that was my, point, but this is a much larger and interesting discussion which, we should have at the right time.
Thank you. With this, can we look at the presentation? Nick, you would like to add something before we start? So the slide that you had, that's it? Okay. So then, because we have got, so 4-5 points that I wrote about was cost, time, optimization, and impact of value. So these are the bottom lines. I have come up with 4-5 questions, but I think most of them have been taken care of in these deliberations that we had. One thing which I felt was from an ROI perspective, when retailers invest in AI or will be investing in AI or whatever the emerging tech would be, what are the most realistic ROI expectations you expect? So that is something which if everybody can succinctly say in a line or two through pointers the ROI expectations, then that will set the benchmark accordingly. Shailesh, we can start with you only. What would be your ROI expectations?
So I guess, since it's a new tech, it's a bit unfair to really look at it from the top line or bottom line perspective. Primarily, operational efficiency is something which we can focus on. The other thing is the challenge of scale, because there are repeat tasks which need a consistent behavior. If you keep it to the people, there are chances of errors. And computer can definitely do it error-free, near error-free, I won't say error-free. So I could say scale and also sustainability is something which can be impacted using AI solutions. I'll give you one example very quickly. As I said, we have been trying a lot of stuff. So if you do control groups, the biggest challenge in our kind of retail, fashion retail is availability, right? Because we don't seed a lot. We send maybe one size set or two size sets across 200 stores. And when you read data after a period. Like if you're good, you read it after 3 days. If you're average, you read it after 7 days. Most of us read by 10 days, right? So what the data tells you is that what you sold in 3 days. What it doesn't tell you is what you could have sold. So when you launch, when the first size goes off, that data is missing in the system. Because most of us have system which gives you end of day data, not hourly data. Now systems are moving to hourly, but they're not there. They were not there. So when you look at availability data, if you can take the control group of stores, on one group you apply AI solution, which basically learns periodically how quickly you sell, and other you run using the same replenish model, which you are replenish model. I have seen in my experience a delta of almost 7% availability using the AI solution and almost 1.2% LFL growth. So something system can definitely bring, okay? Now, can it bring consistently? Was I bold enough to really do it across the chain? The answer is no, because as Yakeen said, it's like a black box. And most of us retailers, at least the older retailers, like to test, feel, and understand why it is doing what it is doing. If it is not understanding, I will say no. And I guess the consistent outcome over a longer period, maybe not a very long, but over a longer period, will help us build trust in the system. So there are possibilities to use solutions where the task is repetitive.
Just a quick question. Yeah. I can do it without a phone. So when you stated that you had +7% in growth through AI, what hold you then back to roll it out further? Was it just that you still felt it's not validated enough to go further, or what was holding you back?
So to be honest, because we are in a small group, I wasn't sure how it did it.
Okay.
You know, so I worked with a startup. Two guys came to me from IIT and asked me for a problem statement.
Okay.
Okay. So I said, this is the problem statement. You go and give me the solution. Right. So they got back the solution. I really liked the outcome also. But I wasn't very sure that this will be a consistent behavior. Sometimes, you know, it's like 20-20 match, you know. You may win it by fluke. I need to play a test cricket. Yeah, I need to play a test cricket where I need to.
So you were lacking the methodology behind it in order
No, I won't say they were lacking. I would say I wasn't very sure that I wanted to take that jump. And I'm talking about this around five years ago. Now, maybe if it happens again, I'm more sure because now this ecosystem has evolved. People are using solutions which are like this.
Maybe the trust factor was not there.
Yes,
I
at that
can
point
address that.
Yeah, Yakeen, please.
So this is one of our chairmen had asked this, had a meeting, and I'm just giving you anecdotes of situations, okay? And you know the chairman. One day he just said, Yakeen, why is you and your team not taking a step forward, okay? And then we were discussing it. So in the end, he said, okay, so the problem that you have is that no one is having your back. And if we don't have anyone at the top having our back, we are not going to implement it. Bottom line. So no matter what happens, you have to get a business sponsor who says, okay, we are testing it. We are all into it. We are going to go in all hands onto it. We know the output could be X. We may not just exactly get it right. It has to be a collective sponsor from top to bottom. A doctor, a surgeon can come out of a heart surgery and say, I'm sorry, I did my best. But an IT guy cannot come out and say, I'm sorry, I did my best. Okay. So,
It's a wonderful point. Yeah.
so that's, so that's exactly what he was not able to convey it out, you know, because we need someone to, you know, have us back, and then we can do it.
Also, again, to this point, you know, all the businesses have their own idiosyncrasies, right? And some of us are comfortable with working a kind of ecosystem. So I'll not name the company. I was working with a Spanish company, and I quite like the solution. And the company is currently operational in India with other retailer. And I just could not go with them because their cloud system was not the cloud system I wanted to work with, and they were not willing to change the cloud system. So I said, nothing doing. I can't work with you. So there are things like that, you know, because there are business restrictions, you know, you have to follow them. And while the solution could be amazing, and you can see somebody else is getting benefit, I'll talk to you outside who is getting the benefit. Yeah. There is a retailer who doesn't do sale in India. I think you know who he is, yeah, apparel retailer. So they're using that solution. So, and you know it's a working solution. You just don't want to work with those people because they are not your, I won't say standard, but they're not in the kind of ecosystem you want to run under your solution. So yeah.
Sure. So for me, when it comes to metrics, especially because I'm from the business side of things, two holy grail metrics, simple, for any solution that I'm trying to implement or any initiative that I'm taking in the business. Is it helping in improving the top line, or is it helping in reducing my cost or improving the bottom line? While there could be a number of other metrics which lead to it, you know, it could be with respect to availability, it could be with respect to, you know, improved consumer experience. He's adding more products to the cart. I'm converting more customers. Is he adding more profitable products? You know, I make more money there. Is he adding those products to the cart? Am I delivering it at a much, you know, lower cost? Am I able to, you know, all the metrics which can go in, you know, there can be multiple things that I measure. But two ultimate metrics that I would look at is, will this solution help me either get more sales, increase top line, or can it help me reduce cost? Yeah, definitely, you know, consumer experience, all of it would come in, but the two holy grail metrics. Thank you.
See, with AI, yes, sales is one of the key factors for the organization, but we will also talk about support systems like finance, supply chain. They also do quite a lot of rudimentary tasks on day-to-day basis. Like, people are talking about, to an extent, it works. Yeah. What about the scalability, and can it take it to the next level? Would be the question that I would have. Yeah, because at the end of the day, you are instructing that particular AI to do it in a fashion with a scale of 10, plus minus 10-15%. But can it take it to the next level automatically without even we calling it out? It would be, the question for me. So that is what I would want to look at in that angle.
Arun.
I think from an ROI perspective, because like we know the AI keeps learning, relearning, I think it's a process. May not be able to put a figure to it, but I think if you really look at it at a timeline perspective for say, maybe something I think what Shailesh spoke about, the availability, etc., the catalog out of stock, which is majorly a problem with most of the retailers. Maybe you look at solving at a 6 to 12 months time, and then, let's talk about a customer recommendation or any kind of personalization, because that's something customer will take some time to, figure out in your app or a website. And effectively, it might bring in you more revenue, right? That may be one of the factor to see what is your investment and what is the net, probably the revenue difference it's trying to make. And in a long term, maybe some of those predictive, analytics or any of those which can play in your long term, business, right? I think that's the way I would probably put a timeline to it rather than just trying to put a number and say, because that might be very difficult to sort of, conclude. Yeah.
For me, it's basically what is the use case it solves. In some cases where there are no numbers involved, it's very difficult to quantify what the value it derives. So for instance, a CCTV analytics at the store, which gives me specific points of measure on saying how my level of service has been, it may not tell me how business has improved. But I need to have a level of serviceability. It helps me do that. I'll probably go in to do that. When it comes to numbers, something like a replenishment, etc., there are clear understanding of uplift of sale, accuracy of forecast, so on and so forth. Those are easier to probably quantify and look at ROI. So, two different use cases need to have a different lenses, in my view.
Finally, we'll have Akshay.
It'll be too early to comment on the ROI because first it's important to understand till date for us what is the actual benefit that we could get in terms of, as my friend said, top line or bottom line. Once we understand that this is actually the problem that can be solved, then maybe it would be right to ascertain a number or a percentage in terms of ROI.
Sure. I think we have got most of the answers questioned rather than.
It's a very good way to put it.
And I think very clear, top line, bottom line is the crux of the whole thing. But let me try to summarize what our group has said in the last 1 hour or plus. From an ROI perspective, operational efficiencies, challenge of scale, sustainability, top line, increase, bottom line, reducing, availability, customer experience, delivery cost going down, scalability again, personalization, what used case is it solves, and levels of serviceability. These are some of the key metrics which our group is looking out for from a ROI perspective when they are planning to do any investment, whether it is AI or other technology. I think this was a very fantastic, deliberation that we had. Nick, would you like to add something on this, on the part, or before we, close? Or Anu, would you like to share something before we close?
I can provide a bit of experience from our practice with prospects and customers, because obviously we are also every day driven to prove our value of our solutions, because if we can't prove it, then, like you say, there's not the trust and not the conviction to progress with those solutions. And as we said, or as Anu pointed out in her content this morning, that's why a lot of those projects still today fail. So I think in our point of view, we are very much driven to prove that impact. I mean, also those factors that you mentioned, we are probably more focused on the ones that are clearly measurable, quantifiable. That's why we make, based on certain metrics, certain input that we get from prospects or from our customers, while we use them in a calculation in order to replicate and to say, based on those information, and these are coming from you, they are not things that we bring. Obviously, if you ask us to take an industry standard for profit or an industry standard for certain labor costs in order to reduce maybe the cost on the bottom line, then we can do this as well. But I think the key point here for is that from a market and from a customer prospect point of view, we want those concrete impacts, and that's what's driving us for those calculations. And then we can apply them into concrete scenarios, like I mentioned them to you earlier. I mean, the assortment one is one. We have 3, 4 others that we could mention, but I guess in the interest of time, that was one that I was able to give you, but to quantify it and then obviously to provide this back.
Thank you, Nick. I'll ask Anu also to add.
I think to summarize, go listen to Anu's speech from the morning where I covered all of these aspects. But, so very quickly, some very valid points, and, every retailer that we speak to asks us the same question, right? What is the lift to the holy grail KPIs, as he put it? Are you able to assist us with like a value study or a cost benefit analysis so that I can go to my sponsor, like Yakeen rightly said, right? So that I can take this as a business case internally to get it okayed by the gods above me, right? So, we assist with all of this. And again, I just want to leave you with the same point that can you build your own like AI platforms? Can you build your own solutions? Can you, work with smaller like IIT interns and smart people to do it? Definitely you can, right? Is there lesser risk in, going with someone who has done this for other retailers and who's shown, movement in the needle? That's a better bet is what I would say, right? And again, general purpose AI, using it as a framework, will it, to your point you spoke about, can it give me roadmaps and it helps, day to day, right? Can it do all that? Yes, it can do all that. But can it understand, can it identify patterns in my industry, right? Is it, maybe not, right? That's where, it leads to AI, what is called AI hallucinations and things like that, and AI also, the way it's built is, and I'm sure everybody uses ChatGPT, right? AI is a bit of a pleaser. So it will try to give you some response. And sometimes, the response is not the right response, right? So all of these kind of things can, all of these kind of things can be, worked with if you invest in solutions that have a pedigree of solving these problems and a proven value, right? So that's the only point I wanted to sort of leave you with.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you, everyone. Any other points I think we have covered in detail today? Thanks a lot for coming for this roundtable. In fact, I think this was the coolest one.
Doctor, if I may add.
Yeah, please.
Sorry for.
No, you please. Anybody can. Yes, please.
I saw your presentation in the morning, by the way, and what they showed was food retail, sir. And I guess the replacement may work in food, may not necessarily work in fashion. So it's choice of decisions. Sure, sir. No, because I have in Star Bazaar, I have seen benefits of taking some good decisions, and I think it has helped us. Will the businesses, while we like it or not like it, all of us talk about omni-channel. It was a trend. All of us say we like to have unified view of customer. So omni-channel is, well, most of us say kya hai. So I think AI will become like that. Whether we like it or hate it, it will be part of the strategy. I quite like your pitch. Instead of building, why don't you work with a solution provider which has solved the problem for rest of the world, and then why? I guess the only sensitization I will have, as I said, one has to look at the businesses from the maturity curve perspective. Typically all these solutions, good solutions, they come from an industry which is European or American industry, which is almost 80, 90-year-old industry. Our industry, in all good faith, is 20, 25-year-old industry. So our problems are a bit different. Our solutions may not necessarily be exactly the same. I'll give you one example and I'll stop after that. When we use scraping, most of us use AI for product creation. Most of the tools are developed by European people or American people, the use of Pantones. And they will tell you to use red of a Pantone shade X. That red of Pantone shade X will not work in India. Okay, and that's something one has to be extremely careful about, and therefore copy paste may not work. So will AI stay? Yes, AI will stay, and most of us will end up using some or other. I'm not sure about what do you call that, Gen AI. But people are using it. RPA is a form of AI, right? We have been using it for many years. So I guess solution providers also have to be sensitized to the need of the user. And the more we Indianize it, I would say more people will have success in the Indian market. And Indian people are very good at adaptation. We adapt very quickly. In fact, we jump at very quickly and then we retract back and say, why did we jump? So I guess most of us will have AI as a part of our business strategy. Thank you for giving me the time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Shailesh, Balaji, Sarfaraz, Yakeen, Arun. Thank you, Alok, and Akshay. And thank you, Anu and Nick, for helping us and me understand this AI in a more concentrated way. Otherwise, it was very, very superficial, which is even today. But after writing all these points, I can definitely write a white paper or a two-pager list because I've got at least 15 odd ROI and 10 odd challenges. So that was for my next edition for my STOrai magazine. This can be a useful tool again. So, but thanks, and we connect again very soon. Pleasure. What we'll do is many of you will be having your mementos given or already given. I'll be giving a memento to Nick and Arun because for them the memento has been specifically created. You have got it in the morning, so, and most of our speakers would have got it. So we have got it. So I would request Nick